All over the world, there's an outpouring for Charlie Kirk. Everywhere, like everywhere. I mean, maybe not everywhere, but everywhere. I saw clips of people in Korea and Spain and England and South America. And, I got to thinking the death of Charlie Kirk was the pinprick on the surface of a balloon. And I started thinking, what's inside the balloon? And as a friend of mine and I were talking about it, what charged this situation prior to the assassination? What was under the surface of that balloon? And it came to me that it must be the fact that reality was mercilessly under assault. And as somebody who studied marketing and psychological operations, I would say that the proponents of woke culture and the Marxists were using the tool of advertising or marketing principles to sell a certain idea to the entire world. And the idea was that all the wisdom of bygone eras, all of it is insignificant in the light of modern day wisdom. Such disrespect to tradition, such disrespect, and then the justification of newfangled ways of thinking that didn't hold water as well as the traditions. People were experiencing, it just takes time to run an experiment. When you're talking about the experiment done, sparked by the sexual revolution, that, abortion, divorce is insignificant in the lives of children. They used to say children would bounce back, relatively quickly. But it took 20 years before the studies start to come in and show that this is not true. Divorce is hurting our children. And then what's happening is people going, hey, these religious texts, well, they seem kind of pie in the sky, or they don't seem grounded. Maybe it was just best practices passed down from generation to generation. Whatever it was, science was starting to confirm a good deal of moral teachings, a great amount of moral teachings that had been with us from our forebears about better ways to live. And woke culture ridiculed all of it as if the older you were, or the earlier you were in the history, the less you knew, right? And really, science has reached a point where after the double slit experiment, for example, quantum mechanics hasn't even advanced in maybe like 50 years, right? Nobody has the unified field theory. And people start dealing with, theories out of nowhere. And they start believing in theories like strings, like a religion. So everybody now is like on a level playing field, the thinkers of the world. And some of these thoughts and some of these theories, like Marxist theory, like theories of the harmlessness of abortion, theories like the harmlessness of getting away from marriage, the harmlessness of what used to be called fornication, the harmlessness of just flippantly multiplying bastards. It's even a lost word. There's no distinction between kids that are born to intact like family structure and kids that aren't. We lost the word bastard that used to distinguish, that we knew that one situation for children was better than the other. And so somebody's been whittling away at sanity, which is the idea that we want better outcomes. And when we don't get good outcomes, we want to compare concepts of what to do, theories, in order to implement the best thing for the better outcomes. That is a sane process. But anything that instituted the same process, like tradition, was demonized. And I think this was in order to drive the nations crazy. And I think the Marxists did that as a reprieve, as their get back, as their revenge on America. But America led the world. So when the Marxists pushed family weakening concepts into America over the next 3 decades, after the sexual revolution, the 80s, the 90s, the aughts, there came a generation that quietly said, this is just crazy. We have too many bad outcomes. How come it seemed like previous generations had more wealth than we did, and had more this than we did, and more that than we did? And they started to look back at some of the answers or suggestions from different moral places, moral voices, and watch their peers, the Marxists, ridicule reason. Okay? There's some degree of reason or reasonability, or, in religious teaching. There is some reason in following religious teaching if it actually did bring you better outcomes. That's actually reasonable. If somebody says, oh, you got better outcomes by believing in something that was unfounded. That's almost like saying you actually like the taste of green eggs and ham, even though you don't realize that green eggs and ham is weird. So for most people in reality, they go, yeah, I don't know where it came from, but actually, green eggs and ham was a good experience for me. It was actually a good experience for my children. So I don't have to really question where it came from or what the recipe was if I can confirm that I had a good experience with that. So all these people had these disparate experiences of good things, but then they have also at the same time this experience of these things being pissed on by the left, by the left. And you say, why did the left create this tension at the moment where human beings confirm what is good for them? And you could talk about that. Like, out of revenge, you want to get somebody to destroy themselves. Okay. Or you could say, you can't resist me if your constitution is weak. So the weakening of the American Constitution, in the sense that our resolve to be sovereign, our resolve to make our children strong, right? If we are weakened in our resolve to make our children strong, then some generation of Marxists can come and topple our children. I think they were thinking long term like that. And I think they infiltrated all the influential places. In other words, they set up one big commercial through getting to Hollywood and through getting to the universities to teach our children how to destroy themselves and to normalize the destruction of our own bloodlines, right? Hell, they even coaxed our children into cutting off their penises and cutting off their breasts. So at some point, there is this building tension. And, you know, my friend said that Charlie Kirk wore a shirt. And I didn't know about this, but he said Charlie Kirk was seen wearing a shirt one time that said, "Make reality great again." But that's got to be it. Charlie Kirk is not the only one feeling, let's make reality great again. This outpouring is there because a lot of people are thinking, yeah, let's make reality great again. And I'm struck by the first line of a book that I've studied, a book written by Reverend Moon. The first line of the Divine Principle book asserts, God is the absolute reality. And people are getting back like mother's milk. They're getting back to reality as if it was the spout of mother's milk. And mother's milk meaning good outcomes. People are fighting to get back to sanity. They're fighting to get rid of the assault on sanity. They're fighting to get back to reality. And I know a God that, even if you don't say his name, God, as long as you're living in the joyful way that he designed, and good outcomes bring joy, the joyful way that he designed, he's happy. God is the absolute reality, whether you pay attention to his purpose for creation or not. And if we're living against our own design, cutting off our own body parts to, I don't know, make a strange cabal of people who've gained power, the power of like commercial power, like the power of marketing. And these people are in our heads and they're making this cultural matrix. And we're in this cultural matrix where it's cool to destroy yourself. And some people are just saying, how can this be good? And boom, they shot Charlie Kirk. And people are like, enough, enough. That's why you've had this explosion, in my opinion. And I have one more thing to say. You little demon babies who swore that Marxism is what you want to give to the world, and you little demon babies who swore that transgenderism or anything that doesn't actually produce citizens, okay, anything that's anti-heterosexual, I do believe that these people are now crying out to the absolute reality for the benefits of reality, which is the same as saying they are praying to God to save them from you. And guess what that means? I don't think things are going to be nice for you in the upcoming future. Now, that's not a threat. I'm not going to scratch on bullets and saying, die, woke motherfucker. I'm not scratching that on bullets. But I do know the divine. I do know the supernatural. I do know luck. And I think your luck is running out the freaking door. Look, I just saw him. That motherfucker's scared. He left you.